Welcome to the Mind Body Abundance Show. My name is Charlie, which is my inner child name, or Charlene, or Char, or whatever you want to call me. I have a brand called A Stupid Good World, and we make stupid good products that have a goal to increase the 8% of people that actually leave a purpose here before they go and turn adults into kids again. Today, we have a brand new guest host, my friend, Betsy Hurden. Hi, Betsy.
Hey,
welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. And I remember just being a guest on this show and now being a guest host. I mean, I think I got promoted. I don't know.
Oh, big time promotion.
Thank you. Thank you. I am actually the owner of Illuminate Holistic Wellness Centers. So we offer a whole bunch of different modalities to holistic wellness. So this show means so much just because it's all about connecting those communities together and helping each other grow.
Today, we're going to talk with our guests about overcoming fears and feeling empowered. What are some of the tools you use or you use with your clients for those two? That's a big one, huh?
Yeah, it's a good one. So overcoming fears, for one, it's breaking down the logic behind the fear. What are the facts where this fear comes from? Is it even real? And finding the root cause of it. And then, I'm a shamanic practitioner. So then we release that fear and the root of it. So basically we dig the root out and treat that so it doesn't grow back.
Yeah, that's super important. So I live along the same lines. I've had a little more depth since meeting you and becoming a part of Illuminate. So thanks for that.
Oh, thank you.
And believe it's like super important that you do clear to release that fear, because a lot of people think that they've dealt with it when the fear comes up and they just acknowledge it, but they're actually still giving it authority when they don't release it.
Yes. And that goes to the head. I let that go. I forgave that person. Great. Logically, we're saying that. But did you feel through the entire emotion of that process that happened to you? And that's the important thing. You have to feel the emotion in order to release it. Otherwise, it's going to settle somewhere in the body.
Yeah, I always tell people emotions are superpowers. And we all have a ton of superpowers, but emotions are probably the top of the list, and they're indicators, not decision makers.
Absolutely.
So people don't like that feeling, so they either avoid it or stuff it back down or kind of dance around it, fake it till they make it. But until you actually address it and it becomes an empowering thing, it's still on the line of fear.
Absolutely. Some of the tools I use to live my best life, I mean, we've all heard it. It's so funny. It's becoming a big thing on TikTok, and going around that meditation journaling. And oh my gosh, it was so cringy when I would hear about meditation and journaling, and it works, which I think we're going to hear a little bit more about later on today. So
I think more people are catching on to that and actually being led to people who can take them one step further into your writing. But what does that mean? Like, are you really, a lot of times when I journal and I go back a couple months later, I have no recollection of writing it. And
absolutely
becomes my reminder. So that whole process with today's guest today, I think is going to be magic.
I know. I'm really excited to get more intake on that. So, being in your full energy is something, it's work. And the reason why people keep talking about the same things is because they work.
Yeah, and I think too, I've met so many different healers of different modalities. I mean, one in Pennsylvania where it was a 4 to 4.5 hour process for me. And the first time I did it, my body basically tested and said I needed to go back every 2 weeks. And that first 2 weeks were like hell. It was like opening Pandora's box. I had physical pain. I had emotional trauma coming up. I could barely walk 15 minutes because the pain in my body was so intense. It would take at least that 15 minutes to walk out of it. And then I'd be fine when I got back.
Yeah.
And the day before the next treatment, it was like the sun came out, all my physical pain went away, and I went in and I was just like, really?
Yeah.
And the next one was super magical, like got me over that hump because I addressed it. I let it 2 weeks. I let it come up and just didn't really give it any authority, just acknowledged it and let it work its way through my body and just kept doing what I knew I needed to do. And that's the avoidance of that is like, you have to get uncomfortable and honor the low vibration, but no, it's not lasting forever.
You know, someone once brought up that if we light a candle outside in the sunlight, it's really hard to see that flame, right? But if we turn off all the lights in a room and it's pitch black and we light that candle, it illuminates the entire room. So sometimes we need to be in that dark so we can see that light. And I think that's really important for people to realize, especially when they're at rock bottom. I feel like that's when a lot of people start stepping into different modalities of health, or when they're at that rock bottom. And that's when we have to light that candle so they can see the light.
Or get out of its way so it can illuminate you. Because I think too many people are sitting on that flame and not feeling the fire. They're not feeling anything, but they just put themselves into, I'm going to go get a diagnosis. I'm going to go get a treatment.
Yeah.
You are the treatment.
Yeah.
Deepak Chopra in the documentary Heal said, listen to the diagnosis, ignore the prognosis. Get still, listen to your body. People will come into your life with the right energy that you're drawn to, that have been through something that can help you grow through it, and you never have to go through anything again. And I think that's the biggest, is not playing the victim and just saying, wow, this is a huge empowering piece of my story that's going to help a lot of people if I just honor it.
I would like to introduce Dr. Nicole. Dr. Nicole Knapp is a dedicated fertility and prenatal chiropractor. She combines her expertise and empathy to support individuals and families on their reproductive health journey.
With certifications in nutrition and fertility coaching, she draws from her personal experience to empower others. Driven by a mission to foster healthy families, she offers holistic care and builds a nurturing community, inspiring hope and wellness one pregnancy at a time.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here today.
What is the one thing you like to really focus on?
So the easiest way to say it is, what I want to do is help people get pregnant, stay pregnant, and grow healthy families. So we are working on some fertility coaching, from either having problems with conceiving, infertility, unexplained infertility, or just somebody who wants to get pregnant next year, just got married and we're thinking about starting a family and we want to get pregnant next year. So we work from infertility to preconception and then all throughout to help the whole family stay healthy as well.
It sounds like your training goes by being a doctor in chiropractic.
So the first thing is, I'm a doctor in chiropractic, and what I focus on is more than symptoms. So patients come to me with symptoms that they may be having, but I really want to get to the root cause. Like, what is causing these symptoms? Your symptom might be somewhere, but it's coming from something else. So that is the main thing that I focus on, is where is that root cause with the chiropractic education.
Yeah, that's one thing, being an athlete, is learning early on pain refers. Yeah. So it's in an area, but it's coming from a different area always. Yeah, so I love that you do that. That's amazing.
Yeah, the chiropractic has been like the foundation, not just with physical on the body, but also the nutritional aspect.
Yeah.
So being able to help people through that as well. So it's not just getting adjusted. I think a lot of people get confused. How do you get adjusted to get people pregnant?
That's so well. That sounds like a good time. Wow. Dr. Nicole, I knew what you're doing.
If only with that easy, it would be great.
How do you set yourself apart, right?
But there's so much more involved in that. Like, it goes up to a deeper level of like, how are you eating? What are you cleaning within your home? What are you putting on your body, in your body, all the things. So it's deeper than chiropractic for sure.
Yeah, I have to say one thing. I have a client in Knoxville that still orders my food, and she could not get pregnant for the longest time. And that went through all kinds of stuff. And then a friend of mine messaged me and he said, stop using stevia in your food. And I was like, okay, it's a plant. But so I read the thing. And for like centuries, third world countries have used stevia as a contraceptive.
Interesting.
So
interesting.
I wonder if that wasn't because she was very aware of her diet and not taking in a lot of sugar. And at the time, I wasn't using monk fruit. I was using stevia. So kind of crazy.
In the studies that I've seen, we do not recommend that people use stevia because it also can cause uterine contractions. So if you're pregnant, you don't want that.
Right.
That is not a good idea. So we kind of veer away from it. There's not 100% black and white. So we're like, okay, if there's gray area, let's not do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's really interesting stuff.
You know, my mind is blown more and more every time I learn something about what we are taught to be healthy.
Yeah.
And then when we actually take the time to dive into it, it's almost like you don't feel safe trusting anything. So in your experience, what is something you commonly see that gets in the way, or what you can help people in living a healthier life and something that is tangible for them, and different steps? I think people need steps.
We'll get into the diet a little bit, but the first two things I want to talk about is meditation and journaling. Journaling, I would probably say, is the easiest thing to do. The reason being is that you can write things down and you can talk about gratitude and 3 things of like gratitude, like what am I grateful for today? But then the hardest part is really talking about what is going on in my life, working through those emotions. And a lot of times people will feel frustrated, and working through those emotions is really what I want people to work on. Is go ahead and feel frustrated. You might also feel blame. Like, I'm frustrated in, I don't know how much it's going to cost. I don't know what IVF might be. I don't know exactly what I should be eating or exactly what I should be doing. And then the blame is on yourself too, because my body is not working the way it's supposed to. They said that if I had sex, I was supposed to get pregnant. Not so much. You only have a 30% chance of getting pregnant every month. 30%. So you get a lot of that happening to that frustration, that blame, and people will also start to feel alone in it. So yes, you have a spouse. I've been through this journey, and my spouse is amazing. But he doesn't understand it because he's never been through it. And my mom, my sister, also amazing, but also don't understand it because they've been able to get pregnant, no problem. So it's really, really isolating. And then fear and anxiety and loss of control is other things that you start to feel because it is a lot of unknown every month. What is going to happen? I'm anxious because I'm supposed to not be getting my period, but then I did. So it is a lot of different feelings that I really want to help people work through for sure.
And I'm one of those people that my husband blinked at me and I was pregnant. So I personally do not have experience, but I've had so many friends that have struggled with this. I mean, my girlfriend and I started a pregnancy race, and I stopped birth control a week before my destination wedding. And I found out the day we got back that I was pregnant. It took me 3 days being off birth control to get pregnant. It took her over a year to get pregnant, and it can feel so alone. And then you're watching other women that just aren't even trying, and it's like, why not me? So I can see that. I can feel that.
For sure, why not me? That is a huge thing, is you get blinked at and end up pregnant. And that's what I would love with this coaching program, is for people to be that fertile so that they don't have to go through this journey. Like, you get blinked at and go along with it. But what we focus on in this coaching program is what we call the 3 T's: thoughts, traumas, and toxins. So any kind of emotional, physical, chemical stressors, professional stressors, relationship stressors. We really get down into, why do you even want to have a baby? Most women or most couples are like, oh, we know we want to have kids. But why? So we really dig deep down into a lot of questions, a lot of psychological aspect of this too. Like, why do we really want to have children? Why are we growing families? What is the purpose of it? So it's really exciting once we get down deep into these psychological stressors.
Or people would ask that question because it's like, it's such a societal norm. Like, oh, we got married, we bought a house, we're supposed to have kids now. And no, some people just aren't meant to have children too. So it is a good thing to be like, why? And it's important for people to actually sit with that. So you were talking about journaling be a big one. And I love how you said that can start with gratitude. So being a shamanic practitioner and doing energy work and stuff like that, gratitude is actually the highest vibration. So when we bring our vibration up, we're more in alignment. So those things can happen a little bit easier. So it's a great way to start your morning. I start a gratitude list every single morning. So I love that.
So going above and beyond that, though, with the frequency and speaking, when you speak your 3 gratitudes, it's even more powerful. So it's one thing to write things down, but when you write them down and then speak them, if you just say them in your head, they're not going to vibrate with that frequency like it's supposed to. But if you write them down and speak them, huge, for sure.
To your work with getting to the root of the desire is huge, because once you speak it, you can't take it back.
Right.
Like, you're there at the frequency.
Right.
I think it's so understated, and it's something that in visualization technique, and then bringing it to the paper and then speaking it.
Right.
And there's that process of, how do you feel when you see it? How do you feel then when you write it? How empowered are you by the time you speak it? And I think it goes for anything, but this, I had a woman in Knoxville couldn't get pregnant, and I said, visualize the fetus. If you want a girl, name her. And she wound up, we got rid of a bunch of supplements that were holding her back, and boom, within 9 months, she was years of trying. Wow. So there's so much validity to what you do.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Yes. I mean, that also goes with the meditation too, is there's a ton of fertility meditations that help you visualize. And I feel like a lot of people don't want to do meditations because they're like, oh, I did that and I just can't concentrate. Well, someone brought it up to me like this. It's kind of like when you get a new puppy. You take your puppy out for a walk, he veers off into the grass. And then you gently bring your puppy back to the sidewalk, right? So as they get older, as they get better, the more walks you do, the better the puppy stays on a straight line on the sidewalk. Same thing when it comes to meditation. Like, okay, brain goes over there. Okay, come back.
Yeah.
Brain goes over there. Okay, come back. So guided meditation is huge to do.
And that's something at my wellness studio. Every Monday, we have Meditation Monday, and it's donation-based for the community. And I am one of those, that crazy brain, that chaotic brain where it's like, oh, I got to do the grocery shop. Maybe bring it back. So what I found is guided meditations, and that's what I like to do, is more of the journey meditations and everything like that. Because everyone pictures the Om. And yes, there are some of those, but there are so many different forms of meditation, visualization. So I love that. I love doing, I hated meditation at first based off of not even doing it, but pretending that I was doing it. And then when I learned different forms, I'm like, oh, I can jive with this. Now I teach it. So I'm like, all right. Yeah. So now I overheard you talking about whole body shaking, and all I could picture was me in the club twerking. That's all I could picture. I'm like, oh, I know how to do that. I know how to do that. But I don't feel like that's what you're talking about. Okay.
Shaking, not booty shaking. Oh, those are totally different things.
I think what I mean.
Leave it to you. Yeah.
Part of my body is probably the largest part of my body.
So full body shaking, and you look crazy doing it, but you literally stand up and you just like shake like crazy. And the reason being is we're tapping into what's called the parasympathetic nervous system. Okay. That is the relaxation part of the nervous system where rest, digestion, sleep, growth occur. So we want to make sure that we're able to bring down that nervous system and get out of that fight or flight that we live in so much. So whole body shaking, even in the middle of the day, you're like, okay, I just had a really crazy meeting. I just need 2 seconds to go and shake like crazy. Other things you could do are like rebounding or like a vibe plate. Those are really great to get your body to calm down as well. Exactly.
And those are those machines you step on. Yeah. Okay.
And jump rope. And rebounders are like the 3 top things for lymphatic release, and that's you're not getting into the methylation. Like, you can go to the bathroom every day, but if your cells don't detox, like, getting into that lymphatic system is huge for your sympathetic.
And we want those cells to turn over so that we can have a healthy body to get pregnant for sure.
Yep.
All right.
Awesome. So then probably the last thing, which I totally agree with, is looking at what you're taking in and how much you're moving.
Right. Diet and exercise are huge. Now, when I talk about diet, we're looking at eating more of a high-fat, high-protein diet and backing off those carbs, those sugars, that kind of thing. Now, when I talk about high-fat, I'm not talking about fried chicken, French fries, fried foods. I'm talking about like avocados or nut butters or nuts or something with good fat content, not fried foods. And then protein. A lot of people make the mistake that they wake up in the morning and have a piece of toast or have a pastry. We want to wake up in the morning having protein to really get our body going and on fire again. And then the next mistake that a lot of people have in trying to get pregnant is exercise. I feel like we're in a society that you want to be so fit and thin. It is CrossFit, HIIT exercises, go, 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 an hour plus a day. And that's really not what our body needs. If we're in that fight or flight that we talked about, then our body's not going to be able to worry about getting pregnant. It's worried about healing from those CrossFit workouts, right? So, right? Right? So my big recommendation when it comes to exercise is 3 times a week, you do a HIIT workout, but for only 20 minutes. Not for a whole hour, just 20 minutes. And then those other days, you're doing some gentle walking or yoga or stretching or weightlifting so that you're changing it up so your body has the time to focus on reproduction.
There was a girl, uber fit, who got pregnant at the kickboxing studio that I worked at. And I kid you not, she trained through the whole pregnancy and she had a 6-pack over the baby.
Crazy.
You could literally see the 6-pack. I mean, that's an anomaly.
Right.
I think too, there's a preconceived excuse / notion that, oh, well, I shouldn't move so much because I don't want to.
Exactly.
Yes.
And I can attest, like, there's a flight of 300 stairs at home where I grew up, and I'm so drawn to those stairs. I found out in my 30s that my mom walked those stairs when she was pregnant.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so I think there's a correlation there. The studies with music and the babies that come out complete music proteges.
Right.
You know, they're listening to the classical. You know, I think there's so much that goes into being aware of what you're thinking and what you're doing while you're pregnant, not just after the baby comes out.
Right. And when you get to the end of pregnancy, baby has to come out. And it's called labor for a reason. So you don't want to be deconditioned. Like, who wants to go in to do any laborious activity deconditioned? So you want to be a little fit because it's called labor.
Yeah.
It's a lot of hard work for hours.
Yeah, just hours. When it's going to how quick it's going to happen.
Exactly.
Amazing.
Well, and when you were talking about like a women, and I find women that struggle getting pregnant, they really go down into that shutdown mode. And it's like, I don't want to exercise because they don't want to have the risk of losing that baby. Right. And it's like, oh, if I jump, like I might lose. And it's like, oh no, that's not how that works. But when these women work so hard for this and they're hanging on to that so much, and just the stories that happen inside our head, right? So yeah, that's big for them to recognize that exercise is still really important.
Right. And that's why we work on mindset a lot in the program, to make sure that we are ready to get pregnant, stay pregnant, and keep going beyond.
Yeah.
And getting the mental clarity that comes with movement. And like, so amazing what you do. Tell us where you're going to be, what events do you have coming up, where can people find you in person?
So find me in person at my office. I'm always there at Knapp Chiropractic. The fertility program is My Innate Fertility, so they are together but separate. We also have a couple events coming up. One is in 2 days. It is online. You can find it on my Facebook page right now and register. And it'll be at noon. We're talking about allergens and toxins in your home and how to get those out. I mean, today is a beautiful day and we have the allergy season that's going to be coming. So we want to make sure that we focus on that. And then we're going to be talking about the 5 essentials you need for fertility on 3/12/24. So check that out on my Facebook page as well.
Amazing.
Beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. This is a lot of fun.
Thank you so much. I love your perspective and everything you do.
Awesome. Thank you.
Ally Bubb has a punk rock soul disguised in a middle-aged mom's body. I love that. That's so fantastic. She combines enthusiasm and inquiry as a life and leadership coach, guiding professionals to step into their next level with more purpose and passion in everything they do. Ally is the founder of the best ever mastermind and transformational coaching program for people to make the biggest dreams a reality. Welcome, Ally.
Thanks. It's great to be here. Ally earned a BS in management from Michigan Technological University, an MBA from the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee, and is a HeartMath certified. Ally is an entrepreneur, speaker, author, thrift shopper, nature lover, cat cuddler, and a parent of 2 spirited kids. Is there anything you don't do, Ally Bubb?
I mean, that's just the short list.
Yeah, cool.
I
like it already.
Yeah, I love it already. So, Ally, what is the one thing that you are focused on?
So I'm really focused right now on helping people to turn their stress into well-being using one simple action.
One simple action.
One. I'm in.
That's intriguing, but first I want to know something that's intriguing me even more. A conversation that we had pre-show about trees.
Ooh, okay.
Your tree hobby? What's
I didn't hear this. I didn't hear this. So you told me I need to hear this.
What's a tree hobby and how'd you get into this?
Well, so we'll rewind the clock a little better than a decade. And I was pregnant with my second child, my son. And we went hiking in Mojave National Preserve. And as we were standing around surrounded by the world's most dense Joshua tree forest, my husband looked at me and said, "Hey, if it's a boy, wouldn't Joshua be a great middle name?" And I went, "Yes." And of course, it came to pass that that is our son. And in 2020, year of all things going awry, there was a huge forest fire out there. And there's actually been a second one since. And so we got on the list to volunteer to help replant and reforest with Joshua trees. We've been going the last 3 years now.
That's amazing.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So it's awesome.
Tree.
I do. I'm a tree. When I lived in Miami, the banyan tree, I could have just sit mesmerized by just how they grow upside down.
Yeah.
In the limbs. And I mean, just so artistic. Trees are just amazing.
Yes, these trees look like something out of a Dr. Seuss book. They're amazing.
And my husband calls me a tree hugging hippie. So, yep, I tapped in the tree spirits. So, we all encounter stress. There's stressors all around us, whether it's things, stressors we intake and stressors that we cause on ourselves, especially when we get too much in here. So I'm a big believer that when we have a physical ailment going on in the body, there's a metaphysical reason, and a lot of it is due to stressors. So how do you view the way stress wears people down?
Yeah, stress, it really is part of our everyday lives. And what's interesting is we don't always think about it. We just think that's the way it's supposed to be. That's the way that, we've got to live with it this way. And that's our modern world. But imagine if each of us was walking around with a giant battery indicator above our heads, just like the ones that you see on your phone. And that thing is going to show basically the amount of energy that you have stored inside your inner battery. And when you start to visualize it that way, and you start to visualize the way that stress is wearing that battery down, It's really like an indicator of your resilience, your capacity to be able to handle stress. And so it's adapting in the face of, it's recovering from, it's preparing for, because you know it's going to happen again. And it's really that energy that you have available to use, not just physically, but emotionally, spiritually, mentally. And so the more resilience you have, the more energy, the bigger, the brighter that energy battery is going to glow above your head. And when you have a higher reserve, you basically get to choose how you respond to stress instead of a default response.
And that's something that my husband and I do. We both work from home and we meet up in the middle floor. I work lower, he works upper, but we meet in the middle floor and it's like, what percentage are you at right now? And sometimes I'm at 20%. When I say that, he knows I can't take on anymore. I'm not making dinner. I'm like, if the kids need to be ran around, I'm at 20%. And, you know, sometimes he'll be like, great, I'm at 100. So I got something to spare. So always checking in. Like, so when you said that battery, I'm like, that's beautiful. That's kind of what we have learned to do because we both are, you know, own our own companies and everything. So that's beautiful. I love that.
Yeah, I love that you incorporate that because one, like just recognizing it, knowing where you're at is so important. Just, you know, sometimes we don't even ask the question. We don't even pay attention to what our body's telling us. And it's interesting to me, too, that you have sort of that understanding of your own body to know 20% is like, I'm done here. That's like having a low power mode activated on your own self. Like your warning comes up on your phone, which I love because being able to think about that, it's like, oh, yeah, I need a break. I can't take the kids out. I can't do that thing. I can't cook dinner. There are days when that's totally fine.
And it's when you can recognize that, then you're going to be less triggered. Because if I'm at 20% and it's like, oh, hon, can you go pick this up from the store? Great. And then that person cuts me in line at the store. Great. Let's really amp this up now. So like you said, when you pile those stressors on, and if you have that low battery mode, you're more likely to tip off that edge.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so important. You know, really thinking about recognizing where you're at, knowing where you're at, because like seeing the battery going, oh yeah, I'm at 20%. And then we need to do more than that, right? We need to start to experience, you know, the things that aren't draining our battery. So the battery gets down from stress. It gets depleted from depleting emotions that we're feeling all day, every day. And so we need to be really intentional then about experiencing renewing emotions, about starting to bring in more calm, more gratitude, more contentment, and really focusing on paying attention to how we feel. But on top of that, you really also need to be thinking about, okay, so if I can take my emotions and move them from depleting to renewing, that's great. That's a first step. And moving into then something else.
So at the beginning when we were introducing, you were saying one simple action to relieve stress. Great. I'm all yours. Yeah, I mean, one simple action. And sometimes so many people make things complicated. I'm like, keep it simple, stupid.
Yeah.
And give me simple. I love simple.
Okay. Well, and the great thing about this, too, is it's simple and it sounds almost too good to be true. And it's one of those things where when you actually try it, when you actually experience it, you go, that's actually pretty cool, right? Like, what if we could recharge our inner batteries? What if we could be in charge of how we're feeling in any given moment and being able to create, the technique is called quick coherence. And so coherence is really, it's the ideal state that all of us want to be in, right? It's when your heart, your mind, your emotions are all aligned. They're in sync. Yeah. And really, like, this happens, of course, in your body as much as anywhere else, right? Like, that's your immune system, your hormones, your nervous system. All of it is functioning together. And so the power of this technique really comes from being able to activate those renewing emotions. And in the moment, you're replacing depleting emotions, charging your battery, really giving your system a lift so that you can face your day, face your stresses. And so I think the easiest way to experience it is not for me to talk about it, but for us to do it together.
Oh, game on.
I'm in.
All right. Tell us about your technique.
Yeah.
Hey, all right.
So I'm ready.
Let's do this.
Ha. Why not really my stress?
So what we're going to do is I want you to focus your attention in the area of your heart. And you can put a hand there if that's easier for you to focus.
Heart or heart chakra?
Heart area.
Okay.
Chest area, whatever space you want to focus on. And just imagine your breath is flowing in and out, breathing a little slower, deeper than usual. Find an easy rhythm that's comfortable. And anyone that practices meditation will recognize this is mindful breathing, right? And so this is the part where we bring in our quick coherence. So continue that heart-focused breathing. And now, make a sincere attempt to experience a regenerative feeling. It could be appreciation, care, love for someone or something in your life. And if you want, you can re-experience the feeling you have for somebody you love, for a pet, a special place, an accomplishment. You can even focus on a feeling of calm or ease. And just breathe that renewing feeling in. For me, I can feel it in my body as everything starts to reset. You know, my shoulders like to climb up to my ears when I'm stressed, and I can always feel them settle back in. I can always feel like, my head and heart are coming back into alignment. This feels good. I never make it through the whole thing without just bursting out in a smile. You know, it's that feeling of, this is what I was looking for. And what I love about this technique most is you don't need anything special. You know, you can do it here with your eyes open. You can do that. You can be renewing your battery while you're driving. You can do this while you're having a conversation. You can do this during a meeting. You can do this when you're hanging out with your kids before writing a really difficult email. I mean, it's like anywhere, anytime, you can check in with yourself.
So how would you recommend that people who have such a radar for the drama and the chaos and everything externally, because people have a hard time getting still, like there's no penetrating, is there like something that you could recommend, a precursor to the one simple step? And I hate to bust out your sure step, but like, yeah, I find it.
What if we can make it 5 steps?
No, I mean, just like something that could take them to get just to that second, because like we also do personal training at Illuminate, and people come in just like you described. I have more reverse work getting their traps from firing at every single upper body movement they do. And I feel like a lot of people are going to be watching this and they're going to be going, you practice it, it's simple, give me a way in.
Sure. I love that question, because you're right. More often than not, many of us, myself included, I'm the 20% freaking out at the grocery store person. Like, how dare you cut in front of me with your groceries? And so, like, sometimes the goal is not to get perfectly all the way there and like, oh, look at all my systems firing in perfect alignment. Aren't I rocking this stress thing that everyone else is struggling with? And instead, it's much more about just like, okay, how can I go from overwhelmed and freaked out to calm? That really truly is the in-between step. You know, there are days, and we all have them, where thinking of someone you love and appreciate and are grateful for is the exact person that's making you so stressed out, right?
Like going back to the fearless nature of childhood and just doing something funny, breaks any chain of stress.
It does.
And too many people are afraid to step into that because, oh, how are people going to look at me? Or what's, you know what I mean? Like, do something that you just wouldn't do. Like,
How do you
break
have fun at work?
Yes, break out of your box. And like, my acronym for fun is feel unlimited now. Like, do something that lets you feel unlimited now. Like, now is all that exists.
Yeah.
Stress is such a before and after thing that I feel like meeting yourself in the middle and just going back to that fearless nature of childhood is a huge step in.
It is. It is.
Breaking that tension.
Yeah.
Cutting that cord, breaking that tension, I think.
Basically to say, you know what? Yeah, I'm frustrated. Yeah, I'm tired. I'm overwhelmed. I have way too much to do. And I'm going to choose to stop that for even 1 minute, right? Like, I promise all your stuff is still going to be waiting for you after you finish breathing.
I love about this technique is it's such quick results. And as this is happening, I'm like, I have a 15-year-old daughter, you know, learning to drive and being in the car with a 15-year-old learning to drive, like, and I'm an intuitive, and so is she. And what a great technique. If teachers just did this for the, like, how often would you recommend this and how long would it take? So if we were to say for a teacher to do this with students or anything like that, like how often, how long does it take?
Yeah. So I recommend doing this basically 3 times a day, 3 minutes at a time. So we're talking about less than 10 minutes out of your day. It's pretty easy to show up for yourself in minimal time. You can pick times that are easy, whether that's maybe morning, noon, and night. If you want to sort of bookend your days with it, you can do it if you eat 3 meals a day. You can do that at your meals. If there's another time when you know that you always do certain things, maybe it's your commute, maybe it's something else, whatever that looks like for you. But finding 3 times a day when you can focus on it, when you can do that. And again, 3 minutes is the blink of an eye. It happens really fast. But what's really interesting about this is it seems like, you know, as we do it, you're going to go, it's this is the thing, right? Yeah, it doesn't feel like much.
To feel your heartbeat and recognizing you're doing nothing to make that happen.
Yeah.
Like, I was a really crazy, my resting heart rate's like 38. And sometimes when I work out, I cannot get into rhythm. I go into tachycardia, and all I have to do is get coherent with my heart. And I'll feel like a triple heartbeat, which I have all the time, but then nothing. And then, so mine's a little bit different, but I think for most people, they don't realize how quick their heart beats all the time because they're completely stressed out. And just feeling that, it was my only saving grace in college when I would black out every preseason before they sent me to another cardiologist. Like, they tried to diagnose me with everything, and the last thing was an arterial blood draw. And I got back to the training room from the hospital, and the head trainer's like, well, how was it? Because I hate needles. I'm like, gosh, it wasn't even half as bad as I thought. She's like, you didn't do it, did you? I go, nope. So I just, if I were to just not panic and focus on my breathing and actually go, oh, it's doing exactly what it's supposed to do. Like, I think that's something people miss. That's a big thing people miss, is your body is operating without you controlling it. You have to do nothing. You know, like, this is something that I feel like could actually put people into a more cohesive mode of letting the heart do its job.
Yeah.
In this unhealthy, environment we live in that's all stressed out, just that recognition alone, I think, could change and alter the state of so many people with the heart.
You're totally right about that. It's deciding first to say, okay, I don't have to accept stress as my default position, right? What if it could be different, even only 3 minutes at a time, tiny chunks of your day? And by starting with that, by putting that there, it can make such a huge difference. One, in helping reset, getting you back into that parasympathetic response, lowering your heart rate, bringing you back to, because, we all do that. Once we're stressed out, we're like, and running around and, trying to do too many things. And so by bringing yourself back to that, by just reconnecting with your body a couple of times a day, it can make such a big difference. The HeartMath Institute did a study, and basically they did a survey of like more than 14,000 people, and it makes such a huge difference in how we feel. It can increase your feeling of calmness if you do this for roughly about 8 weeks. So like give it 2 months, if you're doing this 3 times a day. And basically everyone who participated in that experienced these feelings of calmness, like up to almost 50%, 49% increase in calmness. Like, find me one person today who doesn't need to feel more calm. Sleep was up somewhere in the neighborhood of 36%. And again, find me someone who's sleeping perfectly through the night, has no troubles. And I would love to know what their secrets are. And so it helps with those renewing feelings. But on top of that, the more surprising part of the research really showed that it also brings down those depleting emotions. So when we talk about, oh my gosh, I'm at 20% and I can't even go to the store, right? Like, this brings your fatigue down 53%. This can reduce anxiety and depression 67%. What if you could take your anger down 67%? Because again, we're getting out of that automatic default stress response where you're like, hey, what's going on? How dare you? And into this space of, okay, I'm going to choose how I respond here. And
By doing nothing.
by doing
Literally by doing nothing.
Yes, by just focusing on your
Pay
breathing.
attention to what your body is doing naturally.
Yeah.
End of story.
And
No excuses for for doing nothing. No excuses. You have to do nothing.
Yeah, just restore your battery. Yeah, like, come on.
Yeah. That's amazing. Yeah. This has been great. Thank you so much for coming today. We appreciate all of your work that you do, your personality, your tree planting, everything. You're amazing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Ally.
Yeah. It's been great to be here.
So with all that being said, how do people find you and how do we learn more about the heart coherence technique?
Yeah, so people can find me on my website, workauthentically.com. I lead free monthly events. I try to bring in coherence into pretty much everything that I do, every program that I lead, because of the fact that I know most people are showing up with too much stress and we need to find ways to just reset. I'd also invite everyone to connect with me on LinkedIn.
Wow, what a great show we had today.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
Like top notch. That's what I love about this show.
Yeah.
It's so different and so all united at one.
Absolutely. It's just bringing communities together of like-minded people and giving alternatives for everything. And, I feel so honored to be a guest host on this. And I know I'm back next week as well. So, I look forward to being part of this next week and seeing everyone during what we got going on then.
Yeah, so thanks for coming. And we would like to give a huge thank you to Dr. Nicole and Ally for joining us today and offering such great tools that anyone can use to reduce stress, to make their life better, to have the mind-body abundance, just like our platform. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, ladies. Thank you.